A New York artist by the name of Michael D'Antuono has created a painting called The Truth, and it is depicting Obama in a certain way. And when the announcement hit the press, the flack that this guy got for this painting was so intense and so large that he chose to, instead of unveiling the painting in Union Square in a voting booth today, on the 100th day of Obama's administration, he is going to do it here. Now, as I said, this was supposed to happen outside, but there was so much bad. There was email flack. There was some protests planned. I mean, this guy got a lot of shit for what he was about to do, and he chose not to do it.
And that's the point of the painting that you're bringing to. It's what you bring to the painting. Right. It's not what I'm saying. It's what you already. You're prejudiced by your political views of what you see in this painting. And I was proven right by the reaction to a large degree.
See, I'm the kind of guy, like I say, push it even further. I'm sort of sad it's not made out of elephant poop or floating in pee.
Well, it's messy to work with. It is.
Necessarily cowarding or running away from anything, but you honestly in your heart did not want to cause grief to people that believe in Jesus.
Well, you know, I was overwhelmed with the grief, with their grief, and I felt bad.
You had no idea that was going to happen?
No.
That's interesting. They're very sensitive, you know.
Apparently so. Why didn't you tell me that before?
Well, and where can people see the painting? Do you have a website or something that they can go to?
Well, I do. Well, it's all over the internet. It's the most downloaded.
Glenn Beck.
Where can you not see it?
I wish we had that Glenn Beck footage, because I hate him, and I wish I would have heard what he had
to
say.
Be honest.
I hate him more than you can even imagine.
Just say what you feel.
I'd like to see him crucified without the religious symbolism.
But if you wanted to balance it, you would have one that had MSNBC next to it with the same kind of face. Then it would be balanced, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would. That makes sense.
Are you humoring me now?
No, I'm not. I'm being reasonable.
All right, good. Is that unusual for you?
No. I thought it was unusual for you, but I'm quite impressed.
Really?
Yeah.
I would like to think that the reason why we don't have these conversations is because there's not enough people on either side that are seen in the media that can have an honest conversation.
Well, I'll tell you this. If you're going to talk politics and you tell me that you don't like Obama's his policy on foreign policy or his economic policy, and you tell me why, I could learn from that. I could maybe come away with a fresh perspective. But if you come and you tell me, you know what, Obama's the Antichrist and he's going to take your children, you lose credibility with me, right. just a little bit.
But I don't think he's the Antichrist. And my biggest problem with him is I do believe, he was raised by Marxists. He was surrounded by Marxists. There's nothing wrong with Marxists. I'm sure many Marxists are delightful. Mm-hmm. My problem is...
Groucho was.
Yes. Yeah. My problem is see, now you're playing.
Thank you for sharing. Michael, yes. You also produce visual art that is meant for street consumption. Tell me about the project that you're working on. I would say that you and Sabo are both, you're very provocative, but you're on completely opposite ends of the political spectrum. So it was nice to see you both talking backstage to each other. Maybe there's a...
Well, you could disagree and still be civil.
Yes, you can.
And I think our current president could learn from that, as a matter of fact. A lot of things offend me also. And what they are is the hate-mongering and misinformation and a lot of that right there, the lies. And so my job is to challenge people to think more deeply about social, political issues. And it's gotten a lot more difficult in the last, 6 months, And
why is it more difficult?
Why much more difficult? Because there's so much more misinformation out there now. Donald Trump has actually turned actual citizens, masses of regular folk into activists.
Which they should have in the past 8 years.
But there was less to rebel against.
No, there wasn't. They just didn't have the strength to rebel against the first black president because they knew leftists would turn on them and call them racist.
I don't think being black has anything to do with being president. I mean, so what? He's black. I mean, that shouldn't be an issue. It seems like the right is raising the issue of color.
Well, you're sounding like a Republican.
Well, that's the worst thing I've ever heard, but... listen, Trump is so under the thumb of Putin. If you look at Putin's thumbprint, you'll see Trump's face on it.
You had the death certificate of any of the victims of those mass shootings. I'll bet you that cause of death would be listed as gunshot wounds. And that may be technically accurate. That's not the real reason. The real cause of death is greed. The greed of the gun and ammo manufacturers, the greed of the NRA, and worst of all, the greed of the politicians who accept their money. It's easy to blame the NRA, and it's easy to blame Congress. Shake our heads, throw our arms up in the air. But the truth of the matter is that it's up to us. It's really up to us. We cannot be complicit. We have to have our voices heard. Because bottom line is, we're either part of the problem or we're part of the solution. And I'm sure all you fine people who came here today, you want to be part of the solution. Am I right? That's pretty good. But, if this was a NRA meeting in Texas, I think we'd get more. We can't have apathy here. I'm going to ask you one more time. Let's do it. You want to be part of the solution? Hey, we might just win this thing.
We'll wrap things up in a moment, but I want to get your opinion on this. As an artist, isn't art meant to be open to interpretation? Good, bad, or indifferent?
Absolutely. If you are offended, if you don't like it, well, then the art brought something out in you, and that's the purpose of art, not to necessarily offend, maybe to make you happy, make you think. And that's what my art does. It's meant to make people think more seriously about serious issues and to maybe do something about it.